Hello and welcome to Behind the Woman. I'm your host, Dr. Juhanna Rogers, and today I'm honored to introduce Grammy Award-winning musician and conductor JoAnn Falletta. JoAnn has conducted orchestras all over the world, yet currently she is the director of the Buffalo Philharmonic Orchestra. When she began this role in 1999, she became the first female director to lead a major American orchestra. Today, we'll learn more about JoAnn's trailblazing journey and how Buffalo's orchestra captures the spirit of the city. So pick up your phone, call your friends, because Behind the Woman is on and they do not want to miss this episode.
This program is brought to you by the members of WCNY. Thank you. J.P. Morgan Chase is proud to be a corporate sponsor of Behind the Woman. J.P. Morgan Chase, building on investments and helping to drive inclusive growth by committing to advance economic growth and opportunity.
I got a good feeling. Yeah, I'm up on the cloud, ain't coming back down. I got a good feeling. Yeah. Yeah, I'm up on the cloud, ain't coming back down.
Welcome, JoAnn.
Thank you, Juhanna. Hardly. I'm honored to do this with you.
So talk to me about how you first got into music. There's this question about when did you fall in love?
You know, almost every musician starts when they're really young. I started studying and playing the classical guitar at the age of 7, on my 7th birthday, I remember very clearly. But I guess I fell in love with the orchestra when I started to go to concerts, and I heard the orchestra, this gigantic group of musicians. And when I was 11, I heard a concert, and I said to my father, that's what I want to do. I want to be a conductor. Now, Juhanna, I knew nothing about exactly what a conductor did. But I knew how I felt when I heard that music. I was transported. I was just uplifted. And so that became my dream.
What kept you committed to that dream? Because when they say you are the first female conductor to lead a major orchestra in the United States, that says to me that there were a lot of barriers you had to overcome.
Well, and it took a lot of time. You know, I think I was lucky that I didn't realize that there were no women conducting at that time, or almost no women conducting, but I just knew I was so in love with that music and with the group of the orchestra, that team. So I just kept on studying and going from school to school, and really, frankly, I feel like now I'm living that dream. I feel so lucky. But it did take a very long time. And yes, for all of us, there were barriers. You know, people who were skeptical about, could a woman really do this job? Frankly, I mean, it was always done by men. And you had to be very strong. You had to be in control. You had to have tremendous authority. And I think women have learned to have their own sense of authority in their individual, unique ways.
Can you think of a moment or share a time when you were getting feedback that was kind of reinforcing, we're not sure that you can do this?
What happened, I mean, sometimes people would say to me, well, what happens if you get married and your husband doesn't want to move to the city where you're going to conduct, and things that shouldn't really be discussed. Or, will the orchestra really listen to you because you're a woman? You know, and there's going to be men and women, maybe at that time mostly men. So there was this feeling of, will you have the strength, or will you have the authority to do this? And I think people sometimes doubted that, and maybe they still do with young women. They still have the feeling that, can this happen? But it's certainly changed.
What was your reply in those moments? Because I imagine even for myself, there's a lot of time when those questions, like you said, they still do come up.
They come up.
Right?
Yeah.
But What was JoAnn Falletta's response? Because we may try it in our next.
You know, I would tell them that I've been studying now for 10, 15, 20 years to exactly know how to do this job, to conduct, to help an orchestra sound better and be better, and I'm ready for that. You know, I know because I've studied for so long. So I think the experience, the kind of feeling of experience, and then there were people who believed in me, who tried to help, and trying to believe in yourself. And sometimes, Juhanna, isn't that the most difficult thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, not to sort of feel discouraged or sort of hopeless about it happening right away.
Right.
I always tell people, be patient and just keep working. Keep working, keep studying, and things will happen.
Things will happen. When I introduced you, I was intentional about mentioning the Grammy Award-winning part, because to be looking at like the Grammys is something that's far, far from within reach for many people.
You know, the Grammys still have a lot of allure, and no one knows really how you win a Grammy because it's all secret.
Right.
It's just people vote, and but really the Grammy was for me and the Buffalo Philharmonic. So that's what's so thrilling. It was for our organization.
Wow.
So I'm so proud of that because it in a way it puts Buffalo on the map.
Right.
You know, sometimes I think, and we talked about this before, that the smaller cities in New York State don't get the attention and the kind of respect they deserve, because there's so many wonderful things happening in Syracuse, which is a city I love, and I've been many times, and Buffalo, and Rochester, and Albany, and so this Grammy maybe shone a little light on the Buffalo Philharmonic, and that made me very happy.
Oh. Well, let's now take a look at how JoAnn prepares and inspires her orchestra when it's time to perform in Kleinhans Music Hall.
We're at Kleinhans Music Hall, and we've been rehearsing for our concert this weekend, which is a big program including Holt's The Planets. And I like rehearsals, and I think they're a lot of fun because we don't have to worry about the audience listening to everything. We can actually go back and fix things again and try things in different ways. We can talk to each other in rehearsal, but in a concert we can't. We have intense communication, whether it's looking at someone or body language, or even just a turn of the head or a little bit of a glance at someone. We are constantly exchanging information. And to me, when things are going well, it feels like flying, because the orchestra's like a force field. They have so much energy, and they're just playing at such a high level. It almost feels like I'm levitating because of their excellence. I do a lot of studying on my own, and you have to, as a conductor, you have to be able to deal with a lot of alone time, you know, not only reading the scores, studying the scores over and over again, but reading about the composer. Why did Gustav Holst write The Planets, and what was he trying to say? How did it impact the people of his time? What were they going through? And it was a tough time in England. So knowing all of that, trying to get as much knowledge as possible, helps me help them understand the piece. So my passion for conducting comes from, I think, from two things. One is the music itself. I mean, when you're in the middle of a Beethoven symphony, or you're in the middle of a great piece by Mozart or Gustav Holst, or it's just amazing. It's an amazing work of art that's our legacy. I mean, it belongs to all of us. So that gives me energy, and that gives me a tremendous enthusiasm and inspiration all the time. But equally to that are the musicians. I mean, because they're the people who are actually making the sound. So they have to believe in it, and they do. They come in with such love of the pieces we're playing, and such a desire to play at the highest possible level. So that's very inspiring to see that kind of commitment and dedication. The BPO is 89 years old. They started out as a works project orchestra in the height of the Depression. They were created by the government just to give people a job. We're very proud of that. We're very proud of our roots in people. You know, Buffalo's a community that's been through hard times, a lot of hard times in the last 100 years even. But the things that mattered to them, whether it was an art museum, whether it was the Buffalo Bills, whether it was the BPO, they took care of those organizations. They never let them go. You know, there's this very special relationship here in Buffalo, and I felt it when I came 25 years ago, that it was a place that would be a good place to make music. It was a place where people cared, and people would be there for you, would be supportive. And it reminded me of maybe New York City when I was a very young girl. I mean, because Buffalo has retained so much of that beautiful architecture that it had at that time. And it was a place where I thought excellence could flourish, but with support in the middle of people who really cared. And that is not so usual. You know, I hope when people hear an orchestra, any orchestra, or hear me conduct, or hear the Buffalo Philharmonic play, that they'll be overwhelmed by the power and the beauty of this music, because music does change us. I feel like if I can show them how much I love this music, and how much the orchestra loves the music, and that it is our gift to them, we want them to love it, that includes them in a very warm and beautiful way. And then when you leave 2 hours later, you realize that something has happened to you, something has shifted in your brain, in your body, where all of a sudden you're feeling hopeful, you're feeling optimistic, you're feeling glad that you came. And that's the power of music. A lot of people haven't discovered it yet, so hopefully that's the message. Come back and just enjoy this world of music that is yours.
That was powerful. I had an experience for about 2 years narrating a piece with the Syracuse Orchestra, and standing in the room or standing alongside of this body of musicians playing music live is transformative, right?
It's thrilling. It's thrilling.
It's an adrenaline rush that I never
No, when
imagined.
you're up inside the music like that, or right next to them. That's how I feel on the podium. There's the sense of energy, the sense of accomplishment, and even just the sound is overwhelming and beautiful.
And beautiful. So talk to me a little bit about what it's been like to lead this organization in Buffalo, and how are you all bringing communities together?
You know, it's a great privilege for me, because I believe that our orchestra belongs to Buffalo, Erie County, because we draw from not just the city itself. So we respond to who Buffalo is, and that's what's so beautiful. Our communities, our different communities, the people who speak different languages, you know, it's a very, very
diverse,
wonderfully integrated city, and lots of different people coming all the time. And you mentioned that at the beginning, how the orchestra reflects Buffalo, and that's a big compliment for us, because that's why we're here.
Oh, wow. When you are not at the orchestra, when you're not in your office, when you're not on the road playing, where can you find JoAnn Falletta?
Well, you know, I have so much time with a lot of people that I tend to like, you know, to sort of just do my yoga, read a book, ride my bike by myself. And so there's kind of solitary times, but I think those quiet times help me, I don't know, build up a sort of strength, a kind of energy. And then when I'm with people, I love it. I love it. And there's being with an orchestra like the Buffalo Philharmonic, which is on such a high level, and there's such great musicians, it's such a privilege. It's exciting. I mean, every time I'm with them, I feel excited that I'm in the middle of these artists. It's extraordinary.
Wonderful. So reading a book, riding a bike, do you still get to play?
I wish I could do it more. I mean, as I mentioned to you, I played from when I was a little girl classical guitar, and that's my main instrument, and I love playing, especially with people. Sometimes we play chamber music together, and because I travel so much, I don't do it as much as I would like. But I always keep saying, I'm going to do it. I'm going to get more time to be back and doing something that I loved from childhood.
Yeah. What would your next job be?
You know, it's hard to know, and I say that because I never imagined that I would live in Buffalo. I mean, I didn't know.
Okay.
And before Buffalo, I lived in Long Beach, California, and I never would have imagined that.
You went from one extreme to
yes,
another.
Right. And I lived in Milwaukee for a while. I lived in Norfolk, Virginia. So, and these places were all wonderful for me and for my development as a musician, but also as a person. So right now we still have a lot we can do in Buffalo. We are the orchestra's getting stronger and more individual and just filled with their own personality. We're making recordings, as you know, and we go on tour, and most of all, we play for our community. So I'm not thinking so much ahead as living in the present.
Just living in the present.
And
it sounds like the look in your eyes, you look like you're still in love with it.
I am totally in love with it. I mean, with Buffalo, with music. So that's another thing I tell people, you know, don't always think about the future all the time. Live in the present, because it's a beautiful present. You know, that every day is like a gift, and every rehearsal that I do, every concert that I do is something to me that is special. So
yeah, it's not often that you hear, and that's, I think, what's inspiring about getting women on the couch and sitting down and talking. When you see someone and I'm looking in your eyes and you're like, I'm living my dream, right?
Yeah.
That's not something you often get to hear. And so what would you say to a young person who had aspirations?
You know, it's very possible. And I think that I would tell them, don't give up, but don't expect it to be easy, because the things that really have value take time, and they take your belief in it. They take your total commitment. So, and I think the only way I could have done this is by being totally committed to the music that I loved, especially because women hadn't really ventured into that field too much. So I had to be committed, and you know, for me, it was the joy of my life. So. I think young women should know that you can do it. You can do it, but
it's not going to be easy.
It's not going to be easy, and it's going to take time. It's going to take time and patience. There are going to be setbacks. There are going to be disappointments, but stay with it. Stay with your goal. Be flexible too, and know that doors will start to open.
I think one of the things, as you were talking about, it's not going to be easy, I thought back to your points about Norfolk, Virginia, Long Beach, California, Milwaukee, right? And that you had to travel.
Oh, yeah.
You know, to all these different places.
Absolutely.
What has changing environments and working in different communities done for you?
I have loved it. I mean, as you said, and you implied, they're very different places, right? California and you know, southeastern Virginia, very different. I learned so much about communities, about people, because people are different in different places, but at the core, they're the same. They're beautiful. I mean, they have beautiful spirits. So there are a lot of great places in our country, in the world, where you can follow your dreams. So. Just keep your eyes open, and I remember that it's going to take a little bit of courage, you know, to make those changes.
Well, already you said it's going to be hard, JoAnn.
I know. Well,
it's going to be hard, and now we need courage.
I don't want to discourage anybody.
No.
Because but people know that, like artists and like yourself and actors and writers, painters. They know that sometimes you're not sure if people will believe in you or appreciate what you do, but you keep doing it because something inside tells you you have to
keep doing it.
You have to.
Yeah, and I don't think that's discouraging. I think what you're sharing is a truth, right? Because sometimes us as women, you know, you sit down with someone and they're living their dream, and they could easily look and say, you know, anybody can do it. You just go after it, right? But I think the points that you're making about, yeah, you can, but it's going to be hard.
Right.
You know,
it's going to take dedication.
It's going to take dedication. I'm just thinking about what skills, like if you could tell us, like, what should we work on in order to be dream chasers?
Well, you know, I think a lot of it depends on how you see other people. Because if you are interested in other people and you love making contact with people and you appreciate them, even though they're different than you, you know, or even though they're maybe they don't understand you as well.
Right.
But if you open yourself up to other people, I think it gives you strength and teaches you so much. I mean, the kind of person who says, well, I know everything I need to know, that's going to be really tough to follow your dream. I mean, your dream has to be taking in as much as you can. And who do we learn from? We learn from people. I mean, after we leave school, we don't have our teachers anymore, but we're constantly learning. I know I learn every day from the people in that orchestra, Buffalo, or wherever I'm working. And I love them. I mean, I love being with people, so I think that that connection to people is what makes our journey beautiful.
Yeah. I'm like just hanging on to your every word. Do you have a podcast?
I have a feeling you know this already, Juhanna.
I mean,
all of this.
I believe it. I believe connecting with people. I think being vulnerable.
Yes.
Right? Being open to learning.
Yes.
I don't know how much we talk about that as important tools for leading.
You know, you said an interesting thing like vulnerability. I think that's important because sometimes people get frightened of their dream because they think they have to know everything. And if they don't know everything, they can't do it.
Right.
But we're always changing and growing. And sometimes the way of realizing, I don't really know that. Can I ask someone about it to help me?
Right.
And to show that vulnerability, to show that feeling that I need you to help me with this, that helps us so much. So I think to be able to understand that we're growing and that we have a kind of sense of vulnerability, that's not bad. That's good, because that is going to lead us to connect with other people. And people are so, I think, at the core, so wonderful that if they see that someone needs something, they want to be there. They want to help. Okay, I can help you with that. Let's talk about that.
Right. And I think that's important, especially in the field of the arts, because I think about the orchestra as a very privileged space, right? The access to instruments, the training that you need, the exposure to opportunities, right? And I think about me stepping out in front of, you know, an orchestra and engaging with them, and it took courage
to do that.
But
then in the end, wasn't it glorious?
I mean, it was, but yes, it was glorious. And I'm thinking about the confidence that came from that for me. But to start out, like to do it, I was like, I don't know anything. You know, I don't know how many classical music albums I've actually listened to in my lifetime. But
it didn't matter.
But it didn't matter.
But you're right, it took courage to do that.
Yeah.
It took a lot of courage, and then at the end you realized, I shouldn't have been scared, but I had no way of knowing that. And I think that's true of all of us. We come into situations and we are frightened of it, but we push ourselves to do it, and it means that we come out stronger. But you had to take that first step. So.
You had to take that first step.
Right.
I'm hoping and listening to our conversation that you are inspiring someone else to take that first step.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think it's important, you know, there are people who will tell us, oh, you can't do that. Those are not the people who can help you. You know, you want to find the people who say, let's try. Why don't you try? And I'll be there with you, or I'll be there for you. Those are the people who are going to help you on this journey. So I think that there's so much we can do if we believe in ourselves. It's not always easy, but if you have a dream, whether it's conducting an orchestra or acting or painting a picture when no one thinks that they don't understand what you're doing.
Right.
But just believe in yourself.
Just believe in yourself. Well, thank you, JoAnn. Thank
you.
you so much for that. Thank you for joining us tonight as we listen to JoAnn share her story and hopefully show us all how an orchestra can capture the essence of a community. If you would like to view this episode again or watch past seasons of the show, go to wcny.org/behindthewoman. Next time, join me as I sit down with the Chief Philanthropy Officer of the YMCA of Central New York, Mariella Kennedy Towns, who is not only raising funds, but also working to create diverse leadership at the executive level. My name is Dr. Juhanna Rogers, and on behalf of Behind the Woman and the team here, thank you for watching.
This program is brought to you by the members of WCNY. Thank you. JP Morgan Chase is proud to be a corporate sponsor of Behind the Woman. JP Morgan Chase, building on investments and helping to drive inclusive growth by committing to advance economic growth and opportunity.
I got a good feeling. Yeah, I'm up on the cloud, ain't coming back down.